Hi guys, so my name is Jen. I'm going to be hosting the webinar for today. So our wonderful guest is Kathy Nguyen. She is amazing and I'm so excited to have her as a guest today. So I just wanted to do some rapid fire questions for you, just some like general debates like what would you rather, a sunrise or a sunset?
Jen, this is so hard. I think more and more though, you can hear the birds in the morning and the world feels a bit quieter. So I think sunrise is right now.
Yeah. So coffee or tea?
Oh, liters of coffee. Yeah.
Liters of coffee. Yeah. I've been trying to get into coffee, but we don't really have it at home, so I
That's a
majority just
that's a
stick
good
to tea.
thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing,
Mhm.
Jen.
Yeah. If you could be any animal, which one would you be and why?
So that's a tough one. I think for me, any large mammal that can swim and traverse our oceans, because I can't swim and I'm completely awestruck at the ability of being able to so easily swim our deep oceans and travel the world from one place to another. So uh, yeah, I think a
Yeah.
large mammal, maybe a whale.
Do you think you're more of a morning or night person?
Honestly, I think neither. So in the morning, I definitely need a bit of help, and I'm not going to talk to anyone for the first few minutes, but I also can't stay up that late either. I feel like once I'm awake, the time between being awake and going to bed, my energy level is constant. I don't really experience that midday crash. So whatever that is the kind of person I am.
Mhm. If you could bring any one person back to life, who would it be? Just for a day to talk to them, who would it be?
So I think we're all um, pretty pretty charged about what's going on right now there with civil rights, whether we're talking about race issues, improving the environment for everyone, social equity. These are all civil rights that we need to advocate for. So Martin Luther King, probably, I think having such a big impact, it'd be exciting to think about what he could possibly inspire today for us and get us
Mhm.
through this path that we're on right now.
Yeah. If you could go anywhere in the world right now, for a visit, quick, afternoon or morning, like where would you want to go?
I think so. I really fell in love with BC last year, and I would love to go to the Great Bear Rainforest. Maybe, okay, maybe not because it's probably not the best for people to actually go there. Maybe Hattagwai.
Yeah, but do you think you could tell us in just like 20 seconds what exactly you do for work?
So in 20 seconds, well, I develop and execute national conservation engagement programs for primary and secondary school teachers, the students, and as well for post-secondary students, faculty, and staff on campuses. And with those audience, I get to work so closely with them to develop and shape our programming through things like events, meetings, conferences, workshops. And with WWF, we really get to celebrate the power of students and the power of educators in building Canada's future so that people and wildlife can thrive. That's my, is that 20 seconds?
Why do you think it's important for you to do what you do?
So in 2017, WWF Canada conducted a study analyzing the status of biodiversity in Canada, revealing that of the 800 or so species that we studied, 50% of them are found to be in decline. And the average rate of decline is quite high. It's about 83%. And those are shocking stats, but they can be hard to relate to, especially for those of us who live in urban areas where we don't see as much large wildlife, like myself, like many Canadians. If I had to share one fact about if I had to share one fact or takeaway about climate change or sustainability, it would be that if everybody lived the way we do here in Canada, around the world, we would need 4.7 planets to sustain the global population. And it's a sobering stat, but it really puts into perspective just helping us to see what each of our individual footprints can level up to. And it gives a sense of what we can do about it. Um, just think about the impact that we would have if everybody came together around this and if we considered the environment in many of our daily choices as much as possible. So just think we as Canadians, we can do better and we have to do better.
Yeah. If you want to get started with your slides, and then I'll probably interject with a few questions here and there. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Well, I can tell you a little bit about what we're working on, and maybe I'll talk more at a high level. We're Canada's largest international NGO, and we work we do work to provide solutions for environmental problems facing our country, but we also want to help Canadians contribute to solutions. And we can, like Canadians, truly throughout all the different chapters of their lives, can contribute to a more sustainable future, whether it's at home in our daily lives, whether it's while we're at work, or during your time at school and on campus, which is the area that I really get to focus on. Um, so that would be the Living Planet at School and Living Planet at Campus program. And we actually have a poll that I know Wen is pulled together, finding out a little bit more about you guys that are on the call today. Are you studying high school? Are you in college, university, cégep? I'd love to hear what's going on in your life right now. Okay, so it's a pretty good split. High school, college, university, not a student. Excellent. Thanks for sharing. I'll get that off my screen there. So I think because a lot of us are thinking about post-secondary or are in post-secondary, I'm going to talk about our post-secondary program, which is called Living Planet at Campus. And our goal for Living Planet at Campus is for all students to get the experience and the practice of environmental sustainability during their campus experience. So no matter what program you're studying, whether it's traditionally related to sustainability or not, you truly do have a role that you can play in building a future where people and nature can thrive. So through Living Planet at Campus, we call students into action to get involved in environmental initiatives, WWF actions like our campus and shoreline cleanups. This is one of my favorite photos. It's just, it really captured the day. This event was downtown at a beautiful beach in Toronto. We have, through the program, symbolic actions against climate change like Earth Hour. The Living Planet at Campus program also supports your unique ideas for your campus projects that would help nature to thrive. So with this one here, Go Wild School Grants, post-secondary students can each fall apply for up to $500 that will allow them to kickstart a project. So in this photo here, Calvin and Adam, who are students that recently graduated from Fleming College, they applied for funding and received it to create a bee apiary on their campus, and it's still sustained today. That was 2 years ago that they started that one. Um, yeah, and other actions through Living Planet at Campus, and that's really where we're asking, thinking about how our habitats where we live and where we go to school, that they've become so fragmented with urbanization. So with this activity, we can really help welcome wildlife back home. So for this one, we do ask students to join us in doing exactly that, creating healthy corridors that wildlife can move through by planting native plant gardens of any size, really, whether it's planting your campus green spaces or planting a small container garden that can sit on your front stoop or patio. And planting these native plants is going to help us build Canada's biggest wildlife garden.
I feel like some students, they start off with this belief that their specific major or maybe future job that won't allow them to make an impact in helping our world become more sustainable. So do you think that this program helps change their mind and help show them that there are avenues for their job to become applicable?
We hope so. I mean, that's the vision with this. We're finding that, if we're going to solve these problems together, it's not about having more jobs in sustainability. It's about making all jobs more sustainable. Every industry, every career path can connect to sustainability somehow. And when I get to visit students on campus, my favorite question to ask them is what program they're in. Quickly following up that with how would they apply sustainability to that area of study. And it usually it'll take a minute and they'll tell me no one's ever asked them that before. But then suddenly you can see it dawn upon them. Like they make that connection. And later on, when I introduce you guys to Brad, one of our Living Planet leaders, he can share a little bit about his thinking behind that, as he's someone who studied something that's not quite traditionally related to sustainability. So in participating in environmental initiatives, whether they're offered by WWF, whether they're offered by your campus or with local NGOs, you can actually get recognition for that engagement, for that participation with WWF's Living Planet Leader designation. This is something that you can put on your resume and on your LinkedIn. It really highlights your skills and experiences in environmental action. And what we have is students, what we noticed is students are always looking for internships with us. They're looking for other ways to get involved, and getting the certification is a great way for you to be able to include WWF on your LinkedIn and on your resume. So I'll dig a little bit deeper into this one. Um, Something I want you to think about as we start talking is, so on top of being part of the solution for the environment, on top of the positive benefits of being out in nature, why is it so important for you to get involved in environmental initiatives as a student? And what we feel is that in engaging in these activities, you're going to gain the skills and experiences, the knowledge that more and more employers are looking for across different disciplines. We're finding that the need and the desire for workplace sustainability and employee engagement is growing so rapidly. Many companies have been turning to local NGOs to help them create opportunities for their employees to participate in. So if you think forward a bit, think of yourself in your new job after you've graduated. You're new, you want to stand out, you want to contribute to the culture. And so with your student experiences and actions for nature, you could be that very person in the workplace who is bringing to life environmental actions, helping enhance the culture at your work, and engaging employees. It's a big way to help you stand out and get noticed by senior leadership. So there's an example on the screen. You're seeing shoreline cleanups here. Um, if you're a student and you're getting experience now in organizing a simple group cleanup, it's something that you could so easily transfer over and carry out in the future workplace. Um, our national shoreline cleanup program, we have been running that for about 26 years now. And what we're finding is the engagement and the number of cleanups that are registered and run by corporate audiences has increased so much over that time. So it really demonstrates that there's that need and demand for environmental initiatives in the workplace.
Sometimes a lot of people feel like these ideas, like we have all these ideas, but then they feel at the same time like, oh, it's too hard for me to, like the climate change or wildlife conservation is just too big of a problem for me to solve on my own. So how do you think like how do you tackle this concern when you encounter it within students or even with like adults?
Often we bog ourselves down with thinking that we're just one person, that we're just a drop in the bucket. And it's really not the case. I mean, we have such great value and impact to contribute. If you think about who you are and who surrounds you, we all have our immediate circles and our networks, and then every single person in your network has their own network. So if you're able to inspire others around you into action and they're able to inspire others into action, thinking back to that 4.7 planets, I mean, that's everyone cumulatively together, making it in Canada such that we're using up 4.7 planets, or with if everyone acted like us. So there's really something that we can do, and we have to start somewhere. So I'm finding that programs like this that allow students to see that there's a real community there, that there are like-minded individuals, I think it gives hope, and it gives you a framework that you can work within and something to work towards. So that's kind of why we created this program. This right here is another example. So when I spoke earlier about native plants, planting native gardens, if you're in the workplace in the future, you could easily create a fun workplace campaign to get your fellow employees to contribute to this. And we are seeing so many workplaces looking for ways to get involved in native planting. So the photo that you're seeing here, photos, our very own Dr. Pete Ewens last year was volunteering to help us get together some seed packets of native plants for employees at one of Canada's largest, I won't say the name of the company, but the goal of that initiative was to get the employees at that company, which is a national organization, to plant native plants at home. And it was such a great success. And the individuals that were behind it at that organization, I think that they were just really inspiring to senior leadership at that organization. So my hope in sharing these examples with you is to inspire you to get involved in environmental initiatives that are offered by WWF, offered by your campus, or by local organizations that you have that are accessible to you. and get that experience now as a student. Get recognition for it on your resume with the Living Planet Leader certification, and it'll demonstrate that you have these skills and experiences in helping nature to thrive and in engaging others. Set yourself up for success and complement your degree with these in-demand skills.
Can you speak a little bit more on Living Planet at school for maybe high school students?
It's a really great opportunity for you to start getting familiar with a lot of the initiatives that we offer in the post-secondary space. So with all of the initiatives that we have schoolyard cleanups. You can also mobilize your fellow students to participate in National Sweater Day and Earth Hour. Getting experience in leadership and organizing initiatives like those they can count towards your volunteer hours, your required volunteer hours, and they can also set you up to help build your resume. So we don't have the Living Planet Leader designation in our high school program yet, but it's such a great conduit to help you prepare for when you go into either Living Planet at campus or into the workplace. And my colleague next week is going to speak about the workplace program.
What do you define like as maybe one of like the biggest challenges that someone in like maybe your position or maybe as a student would face like before like by trying to maybe lead these initiatives? Like what do you think like would be their biggest roadblock before they get to that point?
So what I like about how we talk about leadership is I think it kind of breaks down the barriers that surround that term. Oftentimes we think of a leader as being somebody who, I think we put that term on a pedestal and we often think that we can't achieve that. But really a leader is someone who is doing something. And I think that you have to start somewhere. So if you're feeling the roadblocks and not having the confidence to get started on making your idea real, I think something that I always depend on in my role is, my role is a lot of creating initiatives, bringing to life new ideas. It all kind of comes down to how you like the planning process for it. You really have to set yourself up to allow the proper time to make your idea happen. And I like to think about it as a phased approach. There's phase one where you're really scoping out what the issue is, what's the need, what can you contribute to this, and then who do you have to talk to make sure that you're really familiar with the space and um, really connect the pieces so that you're going in there and creating something that will have value. And I think if you've done that really well, you've talked to the right stakeholders, you've identified your primary audience for your idea, then you're able to go into your next phase where you can start kind of testing and learning with your idea. Pick a small
Exactly.
sample audience and
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Definitely. Yeah.
and if you
So
create a
yeah.
process for yourself where you can be confident in that you checked all your boxes off, then if you're someone like me who's not the most confident person, you can at least be confident in how you approached it. And I'd say always consult with people around you, people in the industry. It's we don't know everything, so but there's a lot of great experienced people who would love to collaborate with you, so give yourself the
Exactly.
proper time to do that frameworking. Well, I can share a little bit more about Living Planet Leader.
Yeah.
I can share how it works and how we're trying to give students the opportunity to get recognition for participating in environmental initiatives. So by poll, I'm hoping that Nguyen can help us out here. How many students here have volunteered for environmentally sustainable initiatives? Oh, amazing. Okay, so everyone
Wow.
that's on this call today, 89% said yes. Wow. Okay. I'm speaking to the converted today. So that's so awesome. I speaking to that, like I think you all know that volunteering, there's such incredible value in doing that, both for your community, but for you professionally too. There's a lot of skills-based volunteer roles that can give you the experience that an entry-level job can. So it gives you a pretty great edge. So one of our category requirements for Living Planet Leader is volunteerism, and our Living Planet leaders complete 40 hours of volunteerism with environmental initiatives between when they start the program and when they graduate from their post-secondary degree. Um, I'd love to poll you guys again about whether or not you've taken a course in environment, sustainability, or conservation. I have. I went to when I was in my psychology program, I didn't get a chance to take a course in either of these, but then I went on and did my environmental science, and that's when I got the opportunity. But I wish during my psychology program that I made the opportunity for myself. Okay, 75%. That is awesome. Thank you. These polls are a lot of fun. I wish we could do a lot of these. So the second category in Living Planet Leader is our way of trying to get students, no matter what they're studying, to get the chance to take a course in environment or sustainability, as a way of ensuring that they get a chance to critically think about how their area of study can connect to environment and sustainability. So if you're a student in post-secondary who is not in an environment program, or you don't have a chance to take an environment elective, you could complete this category requirement still with other ways. Like you can write a reflection paper, or you can take an existing course and apply sustainability to it. So I mentioned that I studied psychology. So maybe I could have applied sustainability to it by making my next research paper highlighting the value of nature in reducing symptoms of ADHD or of anxiety. Or if I'm a visual art student, perhaps I'll, in my next art installation, use sustainably sourced materials. So that's kind of an interesting way of looking at that one. And what you're seeing here is just the simple dashboard that all the Living Planet Leader students have. It's where they can submit the category requirements for each of the four main umbrellas. And our third category is what Jen alluded to earlier. It's our checklist of personal items, sustainable actions. What we love about this checklist, so there's about 60 items on it, and Living Planet leaders have to complete 40 of them. What's really cool about it is if everyone were doing these things that might seem so simple, think about the impact. Think about that 4.7 planets. It's pretty cool. I'm also going to share just one last category requirement, and then we are going to jump in with our two incredible champions for nature. So just our final category requirement is leadership and teamwork. So kind of speaking to Jen, what you were saying earlier, that challenge of seeing yourself as a leader and how do you get there? And you don't get there without having a supportive team behind you. And being a part of a team is also leadership. Leadership is really implementing something that has value for others. So one of the requirements for Living Planet Leader is to have participated in helping to lead or be part of a team that's leading an event, a project, or other sustainable initiative. So after all of these category requirements are completed, you would become an official WWF Living Planet Leader. And it's something that you can include on your LinkedIn. It's an official certification on LinkedIn. And every student is listed on our website as a Living Planet Leader. And this listing is a database that is searchable. You can directly link it on your resume. And it's something that prospective employers can look through, and it demonstrates to them that you've been engaging in these things and you have those skills and experiences. We think it's really cool, and I think a lot of the students agree with us. There's over 450 students working away at Living Planet Leader. Really cool to see because we just launched the program last year. And in that year, we had 10 incredible students complete all of the requirements, 2 of whom are here with us on the call today. And I would love for you guys to help me welcome to the call Brad and Samantha. Brad and Samantha, thanks for joining us. I hope you can unmute yourselves and feel free to stay unmuted.
Yes. Hey, everyone. Hi, Kathy.
Brad, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks for joining, Sam. Brad, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. First, just thank you for inviting me out here today and taking the time to listen. So I graduated with a bachelor's degree in commerce from McMaster University in 2017. In my final year, I kind of realized that I was passionate about sustainability and environmental advocacy, but it was something that I didn't really have any connections to at the time. And I actually had a connection with somebody who invited me to the annual general meeting that year in 2016, I believe it was. And that's where I met Kathy. And I mean, I'm thankful for all the opportunities she has brought me since. And I am now in my final year or going into my final year of an industrial design program at Humber College.
Thanks, Brad. Awesome intro. Sam, can you introduce yourself as well?
Yes, for sure. So, hi everyone, my name is Sam. I recently just graduated from the University of Guelph with a degree in environmental governance. Environmental governance is a very unique course. It was kind of a mixture of politics, economics, and then geography. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I found out about Living Planet Leader and the program actually through a tweet that I saw. I believe it was actually Humber College, so I do have to give them a shout out there. Sustain Humber actually shared a tweet and I saw it and I was like, oh, like what is this opportunity? And I was in my last year, so I came across it and I was like, oh, this is so neat. Which I can touch on more, but actually it worked out pretty well. So in my last year, I worked on completing this, and I was getting so involved and like connecting to other people and trying to do as much as I could while I had my time left there. And I actually worked my way into getting a job at the sustainability office at the University of Guelph because I was just so like involved in trying to move forward and get other people to join into in leading some change on campus.
Brad, what was it about the certification that motivated you to complete it?
Yeah, so I've always been eager to get involved, especially since being or attending that meeting in 2016 and getting outside of or involved outside of my studies and with the Living Planet at Campus program. It really provided a platform to both acknowledge those activities and motivate me to learn more about the changes that I can make in my own life and the impact I can have on my local community. Also, the certification shows potential employers that you have an interest outside of your field of study, which I think is super important, and that you're dedicated to creating positive change.
Sam, you started and completed, like you said, your Living Planet Leader designation during your very busy final year at University of Guelph. What motivated you to get the certification?
Yeah, so yeah, it definitely was my busy fourth year. I was finishing off my degree, but what's really nice about the Living Planet Leader certification is that it does start since your first year. So I was able to put some of the stuff that I'd been doing prior towards it, which I really liked because that kind of took a bit of the pressure off as well for instead of doing it all just in the 1 year there. So what really motivated me to get it was that it was such a nice summary of my experience, and it touched on more than just volunteerism, which I also really liked. Though it also really helped with volunteerism because I had quite a few projects that I actually led, which I can touch on a little bit later. But I had a lot of like one-off volunteer experiences that I was like, how do I bring this up to an employer? How do I share this on my resume without my like volunteer section being very hard to read? And I was like, oh, this is a perfect summary. And it also shares like all of my commitment and my personal applications to sustainability. It shows it right there to an employer. And it's something often that I find when I am talking like to an employer or a prospective employer, like that like one punchy, like, here's what I'm doing. I have it in this sentence. And then it kind of brings up that conversation starter when I bring up like that I am a Living Planet Leader with WWF Canada. I also decided that it's such an awesome way to show that you can kind of apply the theories that you're learning in your classes. So those concepts that your professors or like your high school teachers are talking about, that you're actually learning them and that you can apply them to volunteerism and that you know why that's important. So I really wanted it. And yeah, I worked for it for my fourth year and I received it.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about the types of activities that you completed to achieve the certification?
Yeah, for sure. So actually, everyone will see it on their screen there. That's myself. I'm talking to the judges. So I got together with 3 other friends in the photo there. We were actually all very different programs and all different University of Guelph, but I just happened to meet them while I was getting involved through different channels. And I was like, hey, like WWF Canada is holding a design competition. It's called Designing Change. Like, let's apply and like, let's go represent the University of Guelph. And they're all like, yes, like, let's go. So we applied, we were accepted to be the team at, representing UG. And that was an opportunity to show leadership and teamwork. And it definitely was. It was a lot of learning. We all had such different academic backgrounds. So, for example, Vicky, who has the black blazer and the brown work boots there, she was saying she's in biology, so she's bringing kind of a science perspective on what she had learned, and I was in environmental governance, so I was like, oh, like what about policy? What about like the economics behind it? So it kind of worked out really well. I also had the opportunity, because I was just kind of asking around like my university, like what can I lead? Like, can I do anything? And I actually ended up running Sustainability Week, which is our like week-long sustainability kind of focused week, and I ended up running it as the primary organizer, simply because I kind of was asking like, how can I get involved? What can I do? Which I can also talk about a little later. But yeah, those are some of the things I work towards. For that, I also started messaging a lot of my professors about putting more sustainability concept into courses, and also and trying to focus as much as I could around conservation.
Brad, could you tell us a little bit about, so what I'm thinking, what's really special about you, we kind of alluded to earlier, but there's some students who are not studying sustainability in their program, and they might feel overwhelmed by some of the certification requirements, like applying sustainability to their academics. So with you studying studying industrial design, which isn't traditionally related to sustainability, how did you make the connections between the two?
We'll start by saying, I know Jennifer touched on this earlier, it can feel overwhelming when it's not so clearly interconnected, and like it's hard to make a difference if you're in a field that might not be so clearly connected to sustainability. And that was one of the learning curves I had. So I know when I first started at Humber, I was lucky enough to have met the sustainability coordinator at Humber at one of the WWF events I went to. And I got a position as a work study there, which really allowed me to kind of interconnect the two and bring my skills that I was learning in industrial design, which is really a program that, or an industry that causes a lot of problems traditionally. They create a lot of products with single-use plastics that don't really have a clear life cycle, or a circular life cycle, I should say. So I was really motivated by trying to bring my passion with sustainability into like that field and try to like start conversations with classmates and even my teachers, bringing like even just better recycling programs into our program. It's something that uses a lot of waste, and the material that we use like day to day just to make prototypes really just gets thrown into the trash. At least it did. So really starting to raise awareness to that and kind of make connections in that way.
Would you say, I know that you did quite a few different things throughout your post-secondary experience. What kind of applied skills do you think you've gained from these various activities?
For me, it was actually, especially working with the sustainability office, I got to be a part of an initiative to eliminate single-use plastics on campus and stop the sale altogether. It was a 3-year initiative, which is still going on. But to raise awareness in the first year, it was really special for me because I was able to create an installation that kind of visualized the impact we all have by using these single-use plastics in an exhibition that was displayed on campus. And so for me, like applied skills that I gained from that, outside of just like from working in a team and coordinating within the group that was working on the campaign together, I actually got to bring in some of my industrial design skills and start to actually apply them in the real world. A lot of times we're making prototypes, just like one-offs, or making things like digitally. So to make something that was like a full-size exhibition like it was a really special opportunity, and it really helped me kind of push my skills forward in the program I was in too. But that's not to say that you'll always find something that directly relates to, or you'll be able to do something that fully connects to what you're doing. But I think you mentioned it earlier, Kathy, even in projects, you can always incorporate elements of sustainability to help raise your own awareness, like improve your education around the topic, which in turn just helps give you your voice later on, I think. It's a never-ending process.
Samantha, I'm going to ask you a similar question. What kind of applied skills do you feel you gained from the activities that you engaged with?
Yeah, honestly, so many, and so many skills that I find that I'm like using every day. One of them is like how to write that punchy email to get someone on board, and how to write to different audiences. Most of the time I was finding in my courses, like generally when you're writing, you kind of have the same audience almost, and you almost write to a prof. So it's completely different when you have to write that email to get someone from facilities on campus to respond to you, or if you're writing it to fellow students about why they should get involved in a project or to come out and volunteer. Like learning to write and getting that like effective advocacy is something that I definitely have learned through all of my volunteering through the Living Planet Leader certification. And also, yeah, learning multitasking. Obviously something I've always learned, but learning to balance like academics with the volunteerism and the requirements was something I really liked doing. It kind of put like my priorities where they wanted to be for my last year.
Amazing. Sam, would you say that then these skills and experience you gained from your volunteerism and the other environmental opportunities with Living Planet Leader, were they different from the skills that you gained, the knowledge that you gained in the classroom?
Definitely. I also feel like a lot of what I was learning in the classroom, I was learning to, like, I was able to apply. So you learn these theories and these concepts and you hear about these issues, and it can be actually really draining when you don't have an outlet to actually do something with them, especially if you are in a like I happened to be in a program that was kind of more sustainability and environmental sustainability focused. But if you don't have that outlet to actually put something into action, it can be so draining. Like when you're sitting there, and I was kept writing essays on environmental degradation, how we need these policies, and then I would just submit them and I'd be like, okay, next assignment, like what am I doing? So I feel like having that opportunity, that outlet to actually like, hey, like I could share this opportunity with people. Hey, I could go get involved. Like, hey, I could actually start taking up this policy, and like I could actually run with this myself. So it kind of gave me that outlet and like, hey, you're learning, but also what are you doing with that learning? It's definitely, yeah, some skills that way.
Sam, as you mentioned, you're working at the University of Guelph Sustainability Office, and I think you can speak a bit more about your key role there in doing engagement. How would you address Mariko's question about how to get others involved and maybe be Living Planet leaders together?
For sure, yeah. So what I do there is I run the communications and then also engagement, which worked out nicely since that's what I was doing to actually get my certification. And yeah, getting others involved. That is definitely something that we're always learning too. We don't want to be preaching just to the same choir, especially if you only have the same like 5 students volunteering. It's not that productive. Like you already know that they're interested, like you want more. So we're learning, first of all, like how to frame the question so it doesn't just get the people who are automatically interested in environmental sustainability. I have some friends that they're not necessarily were interested right away in environmental sustainability, but I started to talk to them about like stuff that when like kind of in a language that more they spoke. So some of them were more interested in business. So I said like, hey, well, like a lot of businesses are moving towards sustainability. Like this could be something that could be really useful for you in the future. And then I could see the wheels turning like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like this could be something useful. Like I really want to do this. And so instead of being like, you should care, they started to be like, oh, so like learning how to talk to your friends based on like their interests. I found was a great way. And then also finding people who are interested. That's a great question. I honestly kept going to different organizations and was like, okay, who's leading? Like who's interested in doing stuff, and finding that way. And also putting it out there. Sustainability offices, you've heard both me and Brad talk about them. They are a great place. So if you are on a university or college campus, you very likely have one. Great place to meet other leaders.
And they need help.
Right, exactly. They definitely need help. We definitely need help. It's a great place to meet other leaders. I honestly, like, that's why I preach them so hard is you really do meet other people that want to lead change, and it's not a better place to start than somewhere called the Sustainability Office. So that's why we're trying to grow and get as many people in to help volunteer in a way there. But yeah, definitely, I guess to summarize and get some tips there, speak to people where they're interested at. It's a great way to start and get those friends that might not necessarily be as passionate about the environment as you. Reach out to connection and sources. So sustainability offices, if you don't have one, or if you're in high school and you're interested in meeting other people, talk to your environmental teachers. So if you're a geography teacher, world issues teacher, I actually did that when I was in my high school, and actually ended up founding our eco team at my high school by asking who else was really interested in different courses. And then I met them and we actually found a team together. So that's a great way.
So I just want to propose to the students who are wonderful, thank you for joining us. If you could give the audience a call to action, kind of like a what can we do right now to help, what would it be?
In the particular contest is learn. Whether we're talking about racial justice right now, or if we're talking about climate change, anything, there's a world of information out there. Start learning. It really did help me too. I thought, because when I went into university, I was like, oh, like I'm so passionate about the environment. I didn't know there was so much that I had to do to unlearn and learn. So I started to pick up books. I started to read more. I started to ask more questions. I started to ask other people more questions. So yeah, learn, like, and I know, and maybe books aren't the way to do it, podcasts, to start listening, start asking those questions. And yeah, I feel like that's my call to action right now is learn, but don't stop there. Take that if you're like, hey, I'm learning about this, and like you get that fire in you that you're like, okay, I need to make change. Don't suppress it. I used to do that. I used to be like, okay, well, that's sad. No, don't suppress it. Use it. Find out who else is interested in it. Start sharing it to other people, and then use that as that motivation. Just like, hey, go get involved. Start your own organization. I actually started an organization in my hometown with a few others, and we're doing climate action and climate justice work there, mainly because we started to learn about it and we were all interested. So yeah, learn and then go beyond learning and keep pushing to make action is my call to action.
That's great. Yeah, there's actually a quote I came across a couple days ago, was that like there's an overwhelming amount of resources in front of us, and that knowledge is power. And I really like how you touched upon, like, even though we have all this knowledge, it needs to be implemented into something. It needs to be used to create change. So that was great. Thank you. Brad, do you have your answer prepared?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just to add on to that, I think knowledge really is power, and that's where I started on my journey, especially near the beginning when I wasn't as confident speaking about the more technical aspects. And not that you even really need to be able to, but have an awareness around these topics. Everybody, like Kathy said earlier, we're not just a drop in the bucket. There's a lot of people that are also concerned about this and are trying to make a change in the way that they are inspired to. So be creative in whatever field that you're specifically in. Apply it how you can, and just talk to people, raise awareness, keep pushing forward. Things can feel overwhelming at times. I know right now is not the easiest time for anybody with everything going on, but it's also a good time to, if you have some time on your hands, read more books, read more blogs, just keep acquiring knowledge, because I really do think that translates later on in conversations that you would have with people, especially if you start to do outreach and get involved in your community. I think it's a really invaluable way to make a difference.
I'm just
That's
gonna
great point.
quickly add in one last thing there too.
Yeah.
And something that someone told me actually when I was in second year, because I wanted to do something, but I was kind of scared, so I waited on it. And then the time passed, and someone was like, well, why didn't you just do it? No one else is gonna do it. And I was like, you're right, like no one else is gonna do it. Like, why am I waiting here for other people to do the work when I can? So even though it's scary, and I know it really is scary to kind of put yourself out there, just do it. You're learning. It's okay to make those mistakes and try and try again. But yeah, definitely just keep pushing forward and see where you can make an impact, and go make an impact that has a good intention.
Yeah, so I just want to touch upon three amazing takeaways from this great webinar. The first is that it takes 4.7 planets to provide for our needs if everyone lives the way we do in Canada. And this impact is just too devastating for words. So we need to really start reducing our impact, and we need to start now. The second point is that it really doesn't matter what you're studying, and that there's always a way for you to develop initiatives and careers in sustainability. And the WWF has provided an amazing checklist of details and things that you can do in your day-to-day life through volunteerism. So that's awesome. And the last part is that leading and being part of those initiatives can help you in so many ways, giving you practical skills for future careers, for advocacy, for storytelling, multitasking. It really just is so multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary too, just how everything is interconnected and how we can all help each other and inspire each other in this community. So yeah, thank you guys so much. It's really been amazing. Yeah. Is there any last point, Kathy, that you would like to tell our audience today?
I think that when you're feeling like you can't do anything, I don't know if I can add anything that you guys haven't so amazingly summarized. I think that's the question that we get all the time, and that would my answer. Just get started, and you'd be surprised how many people are going to be behind you. It's and there's no such thing as failure. You don't have to get it at like you don't have to get it right at first, and everything that we're doing, especially for the environment, it's a it's a long game. So there's going to be phases, and we're going to learn through this. And I think, just hop in and reach out to, if you're looking to, if you're not sure what to do with sustainability, you're not that engaged yet, just maybe reach out to somebody who is and find out why they're so inspired by it. Maybe it's not listening to what the media is saying. There's so much over reporting on really negative things. But if you talk to somebody like Brad and Samantha, who are so inspired for the right reasons, and um, I think they're quite positive for where our future is going, I think you'll find your inspiration there. So that's kind of where I would leave things off. And I hope that you'll be in touch with us and that you'll join us on this lifelong journey of making this Canada a place where people and nature are going to thrive together.